Hello everyone. I thought that I would do some videos bringing out the cards for the art experiments. I'm going to bring out some cards so you can see how I use the cards, and yeah. So I'm going to use the experiment book that I just put together. It is a bunch of paper put in this piece of cardboard with a bunch of rubber bands. And I am planning on just using this book as a place for experiments, for paint that needs to be used up. I have put a little bit of stuff in here, and I thought that I would start these experiments today with some acrylic paint, just to get some color on these pages so that we can play and see this thing go through. I have done a little bit in here, just trying to use some stuff, trying to experiment with some new things that I had, but it's all random stuff so far, so let's get to it. So these are the cards that I have put down, a bunch of techniques, so I don't have to think about what to do next, and I will show you how to use the whole deck altogether, but I thought it might be nice to go through them once so that you know what all the cards say. Normally I will shuffle them all together and just randomly deal myself a few cards and do whatever the cards tell me to do, so that I'm not planning on what the page is going to look like. But like I said, I wanted to do some acrylic paints, so this is all the acrylic, well, not all of them, but most of the acrylic ones. So the first one is use a credit card to scrape paint on. So I have got over here my little plastic palette. I've already put some paint down. One way to scrape paint down using a credit card is to dip the credit card into the paint and scrape it on the page. It's a nice thin layer, dries fast. I needed some wax paper to put between pages, and voila. Another way, let me do a couple swipes on this side so they're even. Another way is to drop paint directly, here, let me use a gold, directly on the page. Cannot get this book in all these paints. So if I were just to put a little bit of paint on the page, just like that, and actually I can put more than one color, just a dab, and use the credit card to wipe it around. Again, I'm getting it pretty thin this way, so it might dry faster for me. Like I said, I forgot to get some wax paper. You know what? I can grab some over here. But anyway, so that is acrylic paint with a credit card. And you can also just use the ends of the credit card to make some lines. That's going to be thick, and it's going to take forever to dry. I don't want to get the heat gun out, so I'm going to try to, let me just scrape that in so it'll dry faster. Hopefully it won't dry together. We know how messy this can be with a journaling by fives. I want another page. So that's credit card. Let me get a drier page over here. Okay, so that's a credit card. Another one is one that I kind of like. Use a stick, put it in the paint, and rub it on your page. I don't know why I like that one, but I do. Let me get it thin. Let me put some over here. Kind of drawing with a chopstick. Talk about random. I'm getting my fingers in the other paint. Let me see if I can get all this paint off this chopstick now. Okay, so that is that one. Use a sponge. Let's sponge some of this pinky stuff over here. And I am putting this paint on the sponge. I'm just dipping the sponge in here and then going to the side so it's not so thick. And then just splattering it on. Very simple. So use a sponge is good. Chopstick we just did. I love to use, and let me go to another page here. This is really going to stick. This is really going to be messy. I'm going to do some of these pages not on a video. Just so that I can get them dried up and not have to use the heat gun on the video. So, I mean, here's two ways to do baby wipe. You can put a little dab on the baby wipe and rub it into the page. It gets really nice and thin. This is a damp baby wipe. Or you can put it directly on the page and rub it in that way. Same difference pretty much. This one's a little darker. And you can be pretty precise with this and just, you know, start from one corner and get it dark, you know, and keep adding paint. So it's kind of nice to do it that way. So that's a baby wipe. Love baby wipes. Baby wipes are great. So another thing to do is, let me use a different color. Dab some paint on. We'll use that one. Let's use some, I'm always using the same colors. You can use a palette knife to spread that around just a tad. Palette knives are good. Another piece of paper. This one was one that I used to clean off my stamps. You can put a piece of paper on top and kind of burnish some of that paint off. So, and then you can put it on another page or put it someplace else. This is really thick, so I don't think I want it that thick. So I'm just going to smoosh it down. Put some of that paint right back on there. Anyway. You can do it that way. You kind of get a smooshy effect. These pages are going to be awful. I don't know if I can go much further than this. They're already sticking really bad. And that makes me crazy. Really crazy. Alright, so that's a piece of other paper. We can use the foam brush. What did I do with the foam brush? And we can dab on the foam brush. We can use just the tip of the foam brush and twirl it. You didn't see that, but it's a twirl. My space here is so small. So if I twirl it, it makes circles. I like circles. How many times am I going to say that today? I just love circles. Love the way they look. I really do. Love the foam brush. Alright, so foam brush circles. Wonderful, wonderful. What else do we have? We have using a brayer. Now you can use a brayer with the paint that you've got on a palette and just put and brayer it on that way, adding another color. It's kind of interesting. Or you can add some drop of paint exactly on top of the paper and brayer it from there. It gives you a different kind of effect. Getting this paint a little thin so it will dry. So that's another way to do it. So that is with a brayer. And then another thing to do, I'm going to use this foam brush again. Well, actually, yeah, let me use the foam brush. You can use a makeup sponge for this. I'm going to use the foam brush and use some of this paint and just do it with a stencil. I'm going to use up some of this paint I got over here. And I'm using too much paint, so the stencil's not working really well. So if you do it a little bit less. My paint's too wet. I bet if I did it with this makeup sponge it would work. Yeah. I had too much paint on that brush. So use a makeup sponge and just through a stencil. It gives you some designs on there. Alright, and then I don't have any place to put all this wet stuff. You can use a paintbrush. We've all seen the paintbrush thing. Just paint it on. Whatever you want to do. What else have I got on my cards here? Use a sponge. Use a soft brush through a stencil. We kind of did that on the other page. When you use a soft brush through a stencil, it pushes the paint. You should get some good paint out here. It pushes the paint under the stencil so that you don't get a clear stencil, but it's an interesting kind of effect. Can you see that? We like that. Okay, so soft brush through a stencil. You don't get a crisp image is basically what I'm trying to say. You can use cups, lids, anything to make circles. All kinds of stuff that you can paint on with objects. And then I've got this piece of plastic over here that I've been putting all my paints on and stuff. I don't think you can see it, but here it is. I like to use a piece of plastic because then I can pick it up and press it down. and use up everything that's on there that's wet. In fact, I bet I could mist it a little bit with my mister, and some of that would come off. Just another way to use up every little bit of paint. So one that we did not discuss, I'll put a little bit of green on here, was stamping with an object, really thick paint. And maybe even put the paint right on there. And using a comb to scrape through that wet paint to make lines in it. I like doing that. So now I've got this green paint that I want to use on my palette again. I've got a little bit of color on here. I've got this brayer. I might as well use it since I've got it. Pink and green. What an awful color choice. Talk about random. So, that is just getting some color on these pages. I'm going to dry these up, clean up all my mess here, and that is about 10 different things you can do with acrylic paint that are on the cards. And next time I think we're going to do some ink pad stuff from these cards. So here's a little bit of experiments in the experiment book. I'm hoping to get this book really fat and juicy with all kinds of color and random stuff. And I'm going to just do a bunch of random experiments in it. That page is going to glue itself together. So, so we're going to see a lot of this book because I'm going to try to do experiments with the cards once a week to post in the group. So you can see how I use the cards and what's going on, and maybe inspire you guys to do some random art stuff and to show you all the things that are on these cards. So thanks for watching.